Unless you've been living under a rock, if you're disabled or you're in receipt of any type of disability or health related benefits, you will know that the government in the UK are wanting to bring in the 4-point rule. Now, I am going to be the bearer of bad news, and I know some of you are really not going to like this, but this is not being brought in next November. I have got it from one of my actual customers that two members of their family are having the PIP 4-point rule applied right here, right now. They're on full PIP, they're 60 years of age, and they were on ESA. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what happened, and if you're in this position or likely to be in this position when you are commanded down to the job centre, when you make that switch from ESA to universal credit, or you're just called in for a random meeting, you're going to want to know how you can best make sure you're not forced into something like the restart scheme, or worse, like these two people were. And hello and welcome. If it's your first time here, my name's Ali. I am the founder of the Justice Journals and the creator and founder of the app Justice Writer Pro, which is an app specifically programmed to help people with disability discrimination and disability harassment. It was created and used in my own court case against the Department of Work and Pensions, where I sued them single-handedly along with Justice Writer Pro for unlawful harassment and disability discrimination. Now, before we go any further, I just want to point out, because people always ask me this, where can you get help and information relating to disability discrimination or dealing with the job centre or dealing with to work or anything like that? Simply go along to the justicejournals.com. It is a very affordable membership. We have loads of resources, loads of templates. You can have access to one-to-one consultations with qualified experts with life and professional experience in all sorts of things related to DWP, PIP, and of course, employment law. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty about what's been happening down at the job centre with the new 4-point rule. So, as ever, despite lots of promises from people like Rachel Reeves and Liz Kendall, who said the 4-point rule won't be applied to new claims, will be applied to new claims, but won't be applied to current claims, and won't be applied apparently until November 2026. Well, it seems like their internal emails say something different, because down at a local job centre in the southwest of the UK, in the Bournemouth and Poole area, 2 people aged 60 years old were summoned to the job centre when they transferred from ESA, known as Employment and Support Allowance, over to Universal Credit. Now, I want to be very, very clear, but it's actually one of the Justice Journals members that came to me about this for advice, because it's her grandparents. They were in an absolute mess. They were called down to the job centre and they were questioned and quizzed as to why they hadn't been working, even though they're on ESA, and the things that they are doing to look for work now. The lady, I'll just call her Grandma pointed out that she was awaiting knee surgery. She had rods in her back. She can't stand for a very long period of time. And she also has a lot of other internal, let's just say, female problems. The gentleman, Granddad's actually got a very bad heart. He's had heart attacks. He's also just had an operation and is really not very well at all. Once some of the questions about their health were over, they were then asked why they are living in a 3-bedroomed house. Why are they living in a 3-bedroomed house? And their questions were being asked about their housing allowance on their universal credit statement. Like, all I'm going to say at this point, as somebody that used to formerly work there, that whoever that work coach was is bang out of order. Work coaches do not have the right to question things like that. So I was just like, oh my gosh, when I heard that. Anyway, they then had to explain that sometimes they have to have the grandchildren there. And then that led on to, oh, well, then your disability can't be that bad then. So you can look for work. Now, don't worry, because I'm going to be coming to the part in a moment about what you can do to evidence this, right? If this is you or you're caught in this situation. Trust me, this gets worse before it gets better. And I'm still like, what? So this is what happens next. Once they thought they had answered all of the questions possible, the work coach then made another appointment. So grandma and granddad were thinking, that's it, we've answered the questions, they've been a mistake, they know we're on ESA, definitely can't work because we're both really, really unwell. But no. What happened next was the work coach made another appointment, and then she said to them both, when you come back next week, make sure you've got your CV with you. I kid you not. I kid you not. Now, if you thought that wasn't bad enough, wait till you get to listen to the next part, because this is just like, it's a mind bender. I am not going to lie. The next thing that happened when the grandma said, sorry, what do you mean? And we've explained that we're not very well. The work coach turned round, and whilst this is true technically, I don't think it should have happened in this case. So I will explain what I mean by that. So what happened when I explain it? So what happened next was the work coach turned round to the couple and said, you're on universal credit now. You're not on ESA. But when you start universal credit, if you haven't found a job and you're still looking for work, and in order to claim universal credit, you need to be eligible for universal credit by looking for work, you need to attend the Restart program. So if you don't know what the Restart program is, I'm going to break this down as quickly as I can. The Restart program is a different initiative to the Department of Work and Pensions, but it's where money that was formerly given to the job centre is now given to another provider who basically help claimants get jobs, apply for jobs, do their CVs, maybe complete courses, maybe get them to apply for work experience, because quite often the job of a work coach is really to administer the claim, more so now than it is to actually help claimants do work search. However, a lot of work coaches have left DWP, especially when they all got laid off after COVID, and they went to Restart because Restart actually do pay more. But you do get that rhetoric sometimes with not very nice work coaches. All I'm going to say is that work coaches have targets to reach, and so do Restart advisors, as they're called, or employment consultants, I think they're called. So then this grandma was told that she now has to go 1 week to the job centre. So this is a 60-year-old who can't walk very well, has bad knees, and doesn't really go out very much or drive even, is now being told she needs to go to the job centre 1 week. And then on week 2, she needs to go to Restart. And then when she goes back to the job centre the following week, she needs to explain to the work coach and evidence what she has been doing to look for work. Okay, now I'm going to put on my old work coach head and I'm going to tell you what I would have done in that situation, right? Technically, yes, everyone that starts a new claim, there's always a new initiative in a job centre. That's basically a fast track way to get people into work. At the moment, and it has been for many years, it's Restart. The people, for every single person that is put forward to the Restart programme, I think it costs about £12,000 a year for them, for Restart. That's what they're given to help find them work and support them for work. I know, absolutely bonkers, but there we go. So for Restart, it's in their interests to make sure that they get people on board, get them going, all the rest of it. Now, once you start a claim for universal credit, and even if you've migrated from ESA to universal credit, as was the case in this situation, if the work coach mandates the claimant to start a program, and if the claimant doesn't like defend themselves or say like strongly, we're not going to do that, there's not an awful lot you're going to do, because it will be put on your claim, commitments will be made up and signed, and then if you don't agree to it, that's where sanctions and all sorts of other things can come in. So what should have happened if it had been me? I would have said, okay, I see you've come over from ESA. I guess there's obviously a health condition. Would you want to talk to me about it? Because it could help with me like managing your claim. They would say yes. I'd write it all down. And then what should happen, if you follow the rules correctly, is that you should be tapering the claim. So I would be saying to that person, normally, because you've come over to universal credit and you're on full universal credit, potentially without some kind of transitional protection, you would normally be mandated to attend a program called the Restart program, right? But I can see you've got health conditions, so there is another program which is called the Work and Health program. That means you can create online training at home, you can do different things at home online, you don't have to leave your house. If that person then still said, no, this really does not suit me at all, because I have got really bad health conditions and like it's so unpredictable, because I can be laid up for weeks, much like I've had this flipping attack on my immune system for 2 months, and you don't know, one day you're feeling kind of all right, and then 3 days later you're in bed for like with a fever or something. Some illnesses are very unpredictable like that. That's then when the work coach needs to be engaged in a reasonable adjustment on your claim. Not many work coaches do it because most of them don't even know how to do it. But that's what should happen next. So the next thing should be that those people should be those claimants should be writing to DWP, uploading the letter to their journal, asking for reasonable adjustments under the Equality Act of 2010. If you don't know what reasonable adjustments are, they are your right, pretty much so. I say your right, they have to be agreed to under the Equality Act of 2010. Now, in this case, that these people could be saying, particularly if they use Justice Writer Pro, because it would write the letter for you, it would create a letter saying something like, because of our health conditions, it's just completely futile to expect us to attend a program, because we will not be able to maintain 100% attendance because of our health. And that's something else with Restart. You have to maintain attendance. If you don't maintain attendance, that can actually impact and affect your universal credit claim. And then for lots of other people, it then affects their rent or their mortgage, utilities, etc., etc. So it can have a really big impact on someone's life, which is why work coaches would do well, and DWP would do well to train their work coaches a lot better. Okay, so that is the first part of how I would evidence it. And guys, inside the Justice Journals, I have like massive video walkthroughs of scenarios like this and how you can use Justice Writer Pro. Justice Writer Pro is free to any of the Justice Journal members, right? And literally it can make a big difference to your life because it is armed with the right language and the right laws to make sure you're not put in a tricky situation like the one I've just discussed. Right, the next thing is another part of evidence, and I talk about this a lot in the PIT plan. So the PIT plan is an evidence system that I created. It is alongside Justice Writer Pro, and Justice Journal members can use this to help evidence their disability for tribunals, employers, work, PIP, access to work, absolutely the full Monty. When it comes to evidencing a disability for these types of reasons and for these organisations, it is not enough for you just to verbally say how things affect you and what you've got. It is not enough for you to reel off your long list of appointment letters or a diagnosis. That's not enough. That does not directly describe the impact of your disability on your health and your life adversely. And that is what you have to be able to prove, and you have to be able to prove it comprehensively. Now, where the PIP plan really, really wins, it's part of a complete system that I've created. And again, it's inside the Justice Journals for members, right? Inside of the PIP plan, there is so many resources, trackers, templates, written documents that not only prompt you, but also make you, as part of your weekly routine, register and record certain things in a specific and a certain way that are going to hold weight with PIP, with the job centre, with Restart, with the Work and Health programme, with tribunals. Because written documents, when they're created and fabricated in the way that I've created these, are undeniable. So when you have a conversation with someone on the phone for PIP, or you have your assessment, you get into a situation with like he said, she said, right? The PIP plan system that I created is a written document. When you provide that, you have to send it. There are certain things that you do, which obviously I teach you all about and coach you inside of the Justice Journals website, so you know exactly how to not fall foul of strategies and techniques which literally put obstacles in the way and get you overwhelmed, so that you actually just do not advocate for yourself in the right way, which unfortunately seems to be what quite a lot of Maximus and PIP assessors seem to be quite good at. I personally would go as far to say that it's almost taken advantage of disadvantaged people, and most disabled people I would say are considered disadvantaged. But DWP will always use the baton of, oh, we have to make sure people aren't defrauding. We all know that's a load of baloney, because the biggest amount of fraud that goes on in DWP is from DWP itself, not the claimants. But, and I mean that by error, obviously making errors themselves on claims, or when they make a big boo-boo, and for example in my case, when you want to sue them, they just then make up a load of documents, which is technically fraud. But we are where we are. Anyway, if you have any more questions, put them in the comments below. Make sure you come along if you are a member to our next live Q&A, and alongside that, at the same, well, just after that, I'm also going to be doing in the same hour, I'm also going to be doing another demonstration with another new addition that we've made to the PIP plan system. If you have it, you will know, and this is definitely going to help you so much when it comes to representing yourself as a disabled person and actually evidencing the adversity that this has on your life. There we go, guys. The next private live, as we can see, the seconds are tick-tocking away, where you can log in and get all that is good over at the Justice Journals. Thanks for coming along, guys, and let this be a word of warning and a word to the wise. I did say, I am just going to point out and say, I don't want to say I said so, but I did say DWP will apply this 4-point rule well before November 26, and they will probably systematically try and oppress in so many people and panic in so many people that they dare not try suing them or go, actually, you can't do that. That's why having your disability evidenced is so much more important than ranting, shouting, or being forced into doing things that you know you just cannot do because of your health and your disability. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with a fellow friend, and leave me some good comments down below. Bye bye.